Hare Krishna, Venugopal.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
How are you?
I'm doing good, Prabhuji. I missed a few classes, last 2 classes.
Yeah, you were traveling?
Yeah, I was traveling to Dallas.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know it's summertime, holidays time. People keep traveling here and there. So, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, verse 24, 4.24. Shri Bhagavanuvacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Brahmārpaṇaṁ brahma havir brahmagnau brahmana hutam
ब्रह्मार्पणं ब्रह्म हविर्ब्रह्माग्नौ ब्रह्मणहुतम्
brahmaiva tena gantavyaṁ brahma-karma-samādhinā.
ब्रह्मैव तेन गन्तव्यं ब्रह्म कर्म समाधिना.
Brahma, spiritual in nature. Arpanam, contribution. Brahma, the supreme. Havi, butter. Brahma, spiritual. Agnau, in the fire of consummation. Brahmana, by the spirit soul. Hutam, offered. Brahma, spiritual kingdom. Eva, certainly. Tena, by him. Gantavyaṁ, to be reached. Brahma, spiritual. Karma, in activities. Samādhinā, by complete absorption. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Right.
Okay, so Krishna, can you read the translation and purport?
Yeah. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Purport. How activities in Krishna consciousness can lead one ultimately to the spiritual goal is described here. There are various activities in Krishna consciousness, and all of them will be described in the following verses. But for the present, just the principle of Krishna consciousness is described. A conditioned soul, entangled in material contamination, is sure to act in the material atmosphere, and yet he has to get out of such an environment. The process by which the conditioned soul can get out of the material atmosphere is Krishna consciousness. For example, a patient who is suffering from a disorder of the bowels due to overindulgence in milk products is cured by another milk product, namely curds. The materially observed conditioned soul can be cured by Krishna consciousness as set forth here in the Gita. This process is generally known as yajna, or activities simply meant for the satisfaction of Vishnu or Krishna. The more the activities of the material world are performed in Krishna consciousness or for Vishnu only, the more the atmosphere becomes spiritualized by complete absorption. The word Brahman, means spiritual. The Lord is spiritual, and the rays of his transcendental body are called Brahma-jyotir. His spiritual effulgence, everything that exists is situated in that Brahma-jyotir. But when the jyotir is covered by illusion Maya or sense gratification, it is called material. The material veil can be removed at once by Krishna consciousness. Thus, the offering for the sake of Krishna consciousness, the consuming agent of such an offering or contribution, the process of consumption, the contributor and the results are all combined together, Brahman, or the absolute truth. It's Brahman, or the absolute truth. The absolute truth covered by Maya is called matter. Matter dovetailed for the cause of the absolute. Truth regains its spiritual quality. Krishna consciousness is the process of converting the illusory consciousness into Brahman, or the supreme. When the mind is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it is said to be in samadhi or trance. Anything done in such transcendental consciousness is called yajna, or sacrifice for the absolute. In that condition of spiritual consciousness, the contributor, the contribution, the consumption, the performer, or leader of the performance, and the results are ultimate gain. Everything becomes one in the absolute. The supreme Brahman, that is the method of Kṛṣṇa consciousness.
Consciousness. Yeah. So brahmārpaṇaṁ brahma havir, brahmagnau brahmaṇā hutam, brahmaiva tena gantavyaṁ, brahma-karma-samādhinā. This is a very important shloka, one of the most favorite, important, it's one of the 108 important shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. This shloka is like a mantra. Brahmārpaṇaṁ brahma havir, brahmagnau brahmaṇā hutam, brahmaiva tena gantavyaṁ, brahma-karma-samādhinā. This is like a mantra. When you go to a temple, the pujari recites so many mantras. So this shloka is like one of the mantras. In this shloka, Kṛṣṇa teaches us how to spiritualize everything that we do in the material world. How to connect everything to spirituality. How to connect everything in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. How to engage everything how to engage or utilize everything in Kṛṣṇa consciousness in the service of Kṛṣṇa. So this shloka, particularly brahmārpaṇaṁ brahma havir, predominantly it is recited before taking a meal, before eating food.
Yeah.
Before eating food, before eating prasadam. So first the food is cooked and it is offered to Kṛṣṇa as bhoga or naivedyam, and then we take the remnants of that bhoga as prasadam. Prasadam means mercy of the Lord. But before we eat that prasad, before we eat that food, that sanctified food, we have to recite some prayers. So this is one of the prayers. This is one shloka in Bhagavad Gita, and then there is another shloka in 15th chapter. Aham vaishvanaro bhutva pranina deham ashritaha pranāpāna samayutva pachanyannam chaturbhujam. Chaturvidam, not chaturbhujam, chaturvidam. Pachanyannam chaturvidam. So in this shloka, brahmārpaṇaṁ brahma havir, brahmagnau brahmaṇā hutam, brahmaiva tena gantavyaṁ, brahma-karma-samādhinā. Every line has this word, Brahma, Brahma, Brahma. This Brahma does not refer to the Chaturmukha Brahma, that Brahma who created everyone. It is not that Brahma. Nor it is that Brahma, nor it is that entity which is popularly known as Brahma Jyoti. Okay, that effulgence coming from Kṛṣṇa. It is not that Brahman. Nor it is a person who is called as Brahmana. None of those. It is simply Brahman. Brahman. Brahman means something of spiritual in nature. Brahman means something of spiritual in nature. Now, if you look at the different lines in this shloka, right? Brahmārpaṇaṁ brahma havir. Now imagine a situation where you are performing a fire sacrifice, homam. So let's try to understand this shloka, different elements of this shloka with respect to a fire sacrifice. Brahmārpaṇaṁ, that which is used in the fire sacrifice to perform the homam. So when you sit in the homam, you will notice the pujari is using a wooden stick He takes a little amount of ghee from a pot and then pours into the fire. Every 1 minute or so, he takes a little amount of ghee from the pot with the wooden stick and then pours into the ghee. So there is a ghee, there is that wooden stick called ladle, which is used to offer ghee into the fire. There is that fire, and then there is the person who is performing this act of homam, and then there is this activity of homam itself, and then there is some end result. So there are so many different elements that are involved in this process of fire sacrifice or homam. So brahmārpaṇaṁ. Brahmārpaṇaṁ means you can think of that wooden stick or ladle as the brahmārpaṇaṁ, that which is used to offer ghee. And brahma havir. Havi means ghee or butter. So the butter and the wooden stick that is used to offer butter or ghee, both will become Brahman. Both will become spiritual. Brahmagnau. Agni means the fire. The fire that consumes our sacrifice. The fire that consumes our offering. What are we offering? We are offering ghee. We can also offer grains. We can also offer some fruits, flowers, different ingredients. All these ingredients are consumed by fire. Fire is the mouth of Vishnu. Fire represents the mouth of Vishnu. Brahmagnau. Agni. The Agni also becomes Brahman. Now brahmaṇā hutam. Brahmaṇā hutam. That means the person who is offering all these, the person who is offering ghee or grains, that person also becomes Brahman. Brahmaiva tena gantavyaṁ. Result also becomes Brahman. Brahma-karma. The karma, the whole activity, the whole procedure of performing this sacrifice havan also becomes Brahman. Brahma-karma-samādhinā. Samadhi means complete absorption. When we perform this act of sacrifice with complete absorption, remembering Kṛṣṇa or Vishnu in mind, then the whole activity, the person who is performing the activity, the different ingredients and tools that are used in the activity, and the result of the activity, everything becomes Brahman. Otherwise, in general, all these different things that are being used in the fire sacrifice, they are of material nature. The wooden stick is of matter. It's made of matter, dead matter. Ghee is also dead matter. And the person, the pujari who is performing the homam, his body is made up of matter. All the grains, fruits, flowers, everything is matter. But the same matter, when utilized as a sacrifice, when engaged, the same matter, when engaged as a sacrifice, as a service to Kṛṣṇa or Vishnu, it becomes Brahman. Okay, everything in the whole process becomes Brahman. Now let's try to understand the significance of reciting this prayer before eating food. Now before eating food, we recite this prayer to say that the process of eating food should become Brahman. The food itself is the form of Brahman. Brahman means God. Annam parabrahma swarupam. That's what they say, right? Annam parabrahma swarupam. The food that you are eating is a representation, it's a form of God. It's very precious. So the food is Brahman. The process of eating will also become Brahman when you recite this prayer. The person who is eating the food will also become Brahman. And then the end result will also become Brahman. We are not eating the food with an end result of fulfilling our senses just to get some satisfaction, eating different varieties of food. That's not our goal. Our goal is to make everything spiritual, to make this whole activity of eating food as spiritual activity. Otherwise, it's a material activity. But simply by this mantra shakti, when this sound vibration of this shloka or prayer is transferred as an energy into the food that we are eating, so the person who is consuming and what is being consumed, everything becomes transcendental, Brahman. So that we don't get entangled with the results. Otherwise, any material activity has a good or bad result. But if we perform a material activity as a sacrifice, as an offering like this, then we don't get entangled with the results of it. Because the result also becomes transcendental. So it has no binding in the material world. If you go back to the previous section of this chapter, chapter 4, where Kṛṣṇa started explaining about 3 types of karma, the laws of karma. The 3 types of karma are karma, akarma, vikarma. Karma, akarma, vikarma. Karma is that action that has good reaction. It's basically sakarma. And vikarma is that action which is prohibited in the Vedas. So vikarma has a negative reaction, a bad reaction. So both good reaction and bad reaction are binding in the material world. They keep us bound in the material world. They keep us entangled in the material world. So what we have to perform is akarma, activity that has no reaction. So any devotional service that we do in Krishna consciousness is akarma. It has no reaction. So if we recite this prayer, brahmārpaṇaṁ, brahma havir, brahmagnau, brahmaṇā hutam, brahmaiva tena gantavyaṁ, brahma-karma-samādhinā. If we offer this prayer before eating food, then the whole activity of eating food, the person who is eating food, the result of eating food, everything becomes transcendental. And even the person who is cooking the food also, he becomes transcendental. Now these are 2 examples that we discussed, right? The fire sacrifice and eating food. So if we recite this prayer before doing fire sacrifice or before eating food, the whole thing, everything in this process becomes spiritual. So this mantra should not only be restricted to these 2 activities, homam and eating food. This shloka, this prayer or this mantra can be applied to any activity that we do in our day-to-day life. Let's say you're starting a new business. You recite this mantra and start the business. Or you can recite this mantra at the beginning of the day before you start your work in the office. Or when you are going on a travel, you recite this mantra. brahmārpaṇaṁ, havir, brahmagnau, brahmaṇā hutam, brahmaiva tena gantavyaṁ, brahma-karma-samādhinā. So that the whole process of travel, the person who is traveling, the destination, everything becomes transcendental, spiritual. So it should be applied to every activity, not just eating food or fire sacrifice, but to every activity that we do. So here is another important thing about this shloka, right? The Mayavadis, impersonalists or Mayavadis are those people who worship impersonal feature of God. They say God is Nirakar, Nirguna, no form, no qualities. God means some effulgence, Brahma Jyoti, some light. At the end of this life, when we get liberation, we go and merge into that Brahman, Brahma Jyoti. We lose our identity. Because they say that the very reason for our suffering is this identity. We have this identity, that's why we are suffering. So when we go and merge into that Brahman, the Brahma Jyoti, and lose our identity, then there is no question of suffering. But that's a wrong philosophy. That's a wrong philosophy. This is the philosophy of Mayavadis who worship Brahma Jyoti or Brahman. So those people, they interpret this shloka, this 4.24, brahmārpaṇaṁ, havir, brahmagnau, brahmaṇā hutam, brahmaiva tena gantavyaṁ, brahma-karma-samādhinā. In fact, this is their most favorite shloka. Why? Because in every line, Kṛṣṇa is saying Brahma, 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 Brahma. So they say that, see, Kṛṣṇa is telling everything is Brahman. The activity is Brahman, the person who is performing the activity is Brahman, the ingredients that are used in the activity are Brahman, the end result is also Brahman. That's why, that's what we are teaching. At the end of life, when we get liberation, we go and merge into the Brahman. Whatever we are teaching, it matches with Kṛṣṇa's Bhagavad Gita. So this is their most favorite shloka. They celebrate when they hear this shloka. But that's a wrong philosophy. So here the word Brahma means not Brahman, not Brahma Jyoti. It is Brahman, but not Brahma Jyoti. Brahman means something of spiritual nature. So very, very important to make this distinction here. So just to give an example, how they consider everything as one. Advaita philosophy, right? It's called Advaita philosophy. Dvaita means two. Dvi means two. Dvaita means a philosophy that teaches about two identities, about two entities, Jivatma and Paramatma. These are the two different entities. Advaita means there are no two entities. There is only one entity. That is Brahman, Brahma Jyoti. So God is Brahman, the Jivatma is also Brahman, Paramatma is also Brahman. Jivatma goes and merges with Paramatma. So everything is one. That's their philosophy, Advaita philosophy. So Just to give an example to understand this Advaita philosophy. Now there is air in the universe, right? Now when you capture some amount of air in a pot and close the pot with a lid, so there is air that is contained in the pot. There is air in the universe, and then there is some air contained in the pot. Now when you break that pot, what happens? The air that is contained, that is captivated in the pot, it comes out and merges with the air in the universe. The pot that was there in the air, it merges with the totality of air in the universe. That's what they say. So this is what happens to Jivatma. After liberation, the Jivatma goes and merges with Paramatma, Brahmajyoti. A feature of Paramatma is Brahmajyoti. But that's a wrong philosophy. We don't lose our identity. When we go to spiritual world, we retain our spiritual identity. The individuality, we retain our individuality. We don't lose our individuality. We don't go and merge with Brahman, or we don't go merge with, we don't become one with God. God is separate, we are separate. This is the Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Inconceivable oneness and difference. Simultaneously, oneness and difference. Simultaneously, we are one with God and we are different also. How we are one with God? We are one with God in the sense that we are of the same spiritual nature that of God. God is of spiritual nature. We are also of spiritual nature. But how we are different from God? God is of infinite qualities. We are of infinitesimal qualities. God is infinite. We are infinitesimal. God is Vibhu. We are Anu. We are small. God is big. For example, the ocean water. Ocean water and a drop of ocean. Is the chemical constituency of the ocean and the drop of the ocean water same or different? Is it same or different? The chemical constituency of the ocean and a drop of the ocean water, is it same or different?
Same, Prabhu.
Same. But how they are different? The ocean is big, it's vast, it's unlimited, infinite. You can't even see beginning or end of the ocean. Whereas a drop of the ocean water, it's very small, infinitesimal, anu. You can hold the drop of water in your hand. So that's the difference. So in that way, we are simultaneously one and different from God. But Mayavadis, they teach a different philosophy. They say that everything is one. God is one, Jiva is one, Jiva becomes one with God. Okay? Aham Brahmasmi. They say Aham Brahmasmi. So Aham Brahmasmi is partially correct because Aham means I, Brahma means spiritual. We are of spiritual nature. To that extent it is correct. But it is not correct to say that I am Brahma Jyoti. I am same as the Brahma Jyoti. I am same as God. No, that's not correct. So this verse is misinterpreted by the Mayavadis, Advaita philosophy people. Okay? So this verse is very powerful, very, in many schools, especially Gurukula schools, Saraswati Shishu Mandir, if you are familiar with Saraswati Shishu Mandir from India, this shloka is recited every day before they eat meal, before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner. They recite this shloka. So you can practice reciting this shloka at your home. You can teach this shloka to your kids. Ask them to recite this. This is an offering of gratitude to God. Okay? So that means the whole activity of eating food should be performed as a sacrifice. Just like how we go to temple and do homam, similarly, whenever we are eating food at home, it should be considered as a sacrifice. It should be considered as sacred, as pious, as holy, as sanctified, as going to the temple and performing homam. Okay? So now we'll discuss the next shloka. (4.25) दैवमेवापरे यज्ञं योगिना पर्युपासते.
दैवमेवापरे यज्ञं योगिना पर्युपासते.
ब्रह्माग्नौ अपरे यज्ञं यज्ञेनैवोपजुह्वति.
ब्रह्माग्नौ अपरे यज्ञं यज्ञेनैव पजुह्वति.
Daivam, in worshipping the demigods. Eva, like this. Apare, some others. Yajnam, sacrifices. Yoginaha, mystics. Paryupasate, worshipped perfectly. Brahma, of the absolute truth. Agnau, in the fire. Apare, others. Yajnam, sacrifice. Yajnena, by sacrifice. Eva, thus. Upajuhvati, offer. Okay. Namakirti, can you read the translation and purport?
Sure, Prabhu. Translation. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As described above, a person engaged in discharging duties in Kṛṣṇa consciousness is also called a perfect yogi or a first-class mystic. But there are others also who perform similar sacrifices in the worship of demigods, and still others who sacrifice to the Supreme Brahman or the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord. So there are different kinds of sacrifices in terms of different categories. Such different categories of sacrifice by different types of performers only superficially demark varieties of sacrifice. Factually, sacrifice means to satisfy the Lord Vishnu, who is also known as Yajna. All the different varieties of sacrifice can be placed within two primary divisions, namely sacrifice of worldly possessions and sacrifice in pursuit of transcendental knowledge. Those who are in Krishna consciousness sacrifice all material possessions for the satisfaction of Supreme Lord, while others who want some temporary material happiness sacrifice their material possessions to satisfy demigods such as Indra, the sun god, etc. And others who are impersonalists sacrifice their identity by merging into the existence of impersonal Brahman. The demigods are powerful living entities appointed by the Supreme Lord for the maintenance and supervision of all the material functions like the heating, watering, and lighting of the universe. Those who are interested in material benefits worship the demigods by various sacrifices according to the Vedic rituals. They are called Bahishwaravadi, or believers in many gods. But others who worship that impersonal feature of the absolute truth and regard the forms of the demigods as temporary sacrifice their individual selves in the supreme fire and thus end their individual existence by merging into the existence of the Supreme. Such impersonalists sacrifice their time in the philosophical speculation to understand the transcendental nature of the Supreme. In other words, the fruitive workers sacrifice their material possessions for material enjoyment, whereas the impersonalist sacrifice his material designations with a view to merging into the existence of the Supreme. For the impersonalists, the fire altar of sacrifice is the Supreme Brahman, and the offering is the self being consumed by the fire of Brahman. The Krishna conscious person, like Arjuna, however, sacrifices everything for the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus all his material possessions as well as his own self, everything is sacrificed by for Krishna. Thus, he is first class yogi, but he doesn't lose his individual existence.
Okay. Yeah. So now, starting from this shloka, Krishna explains what are the different types of sacrifices that people perform. Daivameva pare yajñam yogina paryupasate brahmagnau apare yajñam yajñe naivopajuhvati. So there are two types of sacrifices that are described here. Daivameva pare yajñam. Those who worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them. And then second category of sacrifices is the yogis. The yogis who meditate on the Paramatma and then achieve Brahman platform. So two types of sacrifices. One is karma yogi, other one is jnani, karmi and jnani. So karma yogi means sakama karma yogi. Here Krishna is talking about sakama karma yogi. They worship different demigods, they offer different sacrifices, they perform different rituals as prescribed in the Vedas to get some temporary material benefits. That's also sacrifice because they spend their money, their hard earned money, they spend on performing some puja, ritual, sacrifice to please the demigods, devatas, Indra, Varuna, Vayu, Agni, different demigods, so that they can get some temporary material benefits. And the second type of sacrifice that is mentioned here is the jnanis who cultivate knowledge. The jnanis are the mayavadis who sacrifice themselves actually, who sacrifice their identity and merge with the Supreme Brahman. They sacrifice themselves. They sacrifice their identity. They sacrifice any material designations, male, female, American, Indian, human, animal, etc. They sacrifice their own identity and become one with God. So these two are not correct types of sacrifices. Because the Daivam Eva Pare Yajñam, the yajna that is performed to devatas, it will only give temporary benefit. It's of material nature, it's not spiritual nature. As soon as the result of the material benefit is exhausted, again you will start suffering. Okay.
What is sacrificing identity, Prabhu? What does it mean?
Sacrificing identity means the Mayavadis, Advaita philosophy people, they At the time of liberation, they become one with God. They go and merge into the Supreme Brahman and merge with that Supreme Brahman. So they lose their identity.
Okay.
But is that permanent? Is that a permanent result? Is that a permanent benefit for them? No. Because once they merge with Supreme Brahman, once they attain that Brahman platform, they stay there for a very long time, and then they fall down into the material world again. Because that state of Brahman, there is no joy in that. There is no bliss. Why there is no bliss in that state? Because there is no activity. When this person goes and merges with the Supreme Brahman, there is no activity, right? Whereas in spiritual world, in Vaikuntha, Ayodhya Loka, there is an activity. You will serve Vishnu or Kṛṣṇa, Narayana, Rama, Narasimha. You will serve them. By performing some devotional service, you will serve them. When you serve them, Vishnu or Narayana or Kṛṣṇa, they reciprocate with loving exchanges. So that's why you will experience bliss in spiritual world. Whereas in this Brahman platform, there's no activity. That's why there is no ananda. So they'll stay there for a very long time, but after that they'll fall down. So that's why it is mentioned, Daivam eva pare yajñam yogina paryupasate. Brahmagnau apare yajñam yajñe naivopajuhvati. Yajñe naivopajuhvati. So the first category is the karmis who want material benefits. They offer different sacrifices to demigods. Second category is the Advaita philosophy people who sacrifice themselves to Supreme Brahman. But these two are not correct. So Kṛṣṇa is presenting a contrast here between 4.24 and the next set of shlokas, 25, 26, 27. Kṛṣṇa is presenting a contrast. One is black, the other one is white. So what is black? Black is Kṛṣṇa. It's Kṛṣṇa consciousness. It's Kṛṣṇa conscious. Okay, this is black. Let's keep this as black. This is white. So black is Kṛṣṇa conscious. That means when we offer everything as a service to Kṛṣṇa by reciting the mantra brahmārpaṇaṁ, havir, brahmagnau, brahmaṇā, hutam, as we discussed in 4.24, then everything becomes spiritual. It becomes Kṛṣṇa conscious. But if you are not able to do that, what is needed for doing this? We need to absorb our mind. Brahma-karma-samādhinā, samadhi. We need to engage our mind. But if we are not able to do that, then second option. The contrast is white. 4.25, 6, 7. Different types of sacrifices. Like sacrifice to demigods, sacrifice done by the Advaita philosophy people to sacrifice themselves into Supreme Brahman. Okay, now we'll see in the next shloka, there'll be some other sacrifices mentioned. So is the topic clear to everyone? I want to make sure that it is understood. The topic, the context is clear. Okay, Kṛṣṇa says yes. What about others? Because this can be little confusing. It's very subtle. It can be little confusing.
Yeah. So, Prabhuji, can I add a one-liner here?
Yeah.
So if you also see like a lot of these Puranas and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So let's take Sukha Brahma or Vedavyas or even Annamaya and all. They never merged into the God, right? They were always continue to serving the God. Like that's the difference is what I see, right? So if you merge again, there's no purpose of the spirituality of serving the God forever. That's what my understanding. Maybe if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So all these people, all these devotees, you mentioned, right? Annamacharya, Shukadev Goswami, they all practice Bhakti Yoga. So in Bhakti Yoga, the philosophy is Dvaita philosophy. God is separate and we are separate. There is Jivatma, Paramatma. Whereas in Advaita philosophy, Mayavadi philosophies, God and Jivatma both are same. Jivatma and Paramatma both are same. Non-duality. Non-dual. That's what they say. That is also one process of liberation. That's also one way of attaining liberation, but it's not permanent. After attaining Brahman liberation, they will fall down. Our entire goal is to go to spiritual world and never come back to this miserable material world. So that's possible only in Bhakti Yoga. Okay? So next shloka, 4.26. And why Kṛṣṇa is describing different types of sacrifices in 4.25, 26, 27 is not to recommend that we should do these type of activities. But the reason why Kṛṣṇa describes these activities or sacrifices is to say that how people in general are attracted to perform these activities because they want quick results. 4.20.
Prabhuji, I have a question. So we know about that first category people like doing sacrifices. They are there for a long time. Even in Rig Veda, just mentioned, you told, right, Prabhuji?
Mhm.
But Advaita, I know only Adi Shankaracharya. He created that one. But was there even before that one? Because Bhagavad Gita was written even before that one, right, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Even before. So even before Adi Shankaracharya, there were people who were following Advaita.
Yeah. Even before Adi Shankaracharya also, there were people who were following Advaita. Because this process is cyclic, right? The Vedic time is cyclic. So whatever we see in this Kali Yuga, we saw Advaita philosophy preached by Adi Shankaracharya, Dvaita philosophy preached by Madhvacharya,
Madhvacharya.
and then Vishishtadvaita by Ramanujacharya. So these are there in every yuga. It's cyclic.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah. And the reason why, even though Bhagavad Gita was there before Adi Shankaracharya, and Bhagavad Gita never recommends Advaita philosophy, but why Adi Shankaracharya recommended that is,
Correct, Prabhuji. And he himself has written Krishna Ashtakam and Bhaja Govindam and all. So that.
so in the beginning, Adi Shankaracharya was propagating Advaita philosophy. But towards the end, he realized that worship to Kṛṣṇa is the only thing that can give us ultimate benefit. And then he wrote Bhaja Govindam. And where he said, Bhaja Govindam means, Bhaja means worship. Govinda is Kṛṣṇa. Worship Kṛṣṇa. Bhaja Govindam, Mudamate.
Govindam Bhaja Mudamate.
Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. Oh fools. Muda means fools. Mudamati. Oh people of foolish mentality. Don't adopt any other spiritual processes. Simply worship Govinda, Krishna. But then what happened was, the followers of Adi Shankaracharya, they only propagated the Advaita philosophy that was there in the beginning. And then they did not give any emphasis to this Bhaja Govindam or worship of Krishna.
And Adi Shankaracharya, he only created the Shanmatam also, right, Prabhuji? Like 6, he has written slokas on all deities also. Like all 6 Shanmatam.
Yes. Yeah. And then, in fact, Adi Shankaracharya, generally people think, right, Adi Shankaracharya or followers of Adi Shankaracharya, they worship Lord Shiva. That's a general understanding, right? No, that's not correct.
That's not right.
In fact, Adi Shankaracharya, so he established different mutts, right? One in Dwaraka, one in, one in the east, one in the west, one in the north, one in the south. And these are all Vaishnava mutts. Badrinath.
He also established like mother goddess worship also. If you see Kanchi, Sringeri, they're all mother goddess.
Yes.
Those are also there.
Yeah, that's also there. Devi Upasana is also there.
And for his mother, he actually created a Krishna temple in Kaladi where he born. So they have a Krishna temple in Shankaracharya's house.
Yeah, it is very difficult to understand his life because he lived only a few years, but he has achieved so much, and he has touched upon all subjects. So very hard to understand his life. Yeah.
Yeah. But the essence of his entire philosophy is given in Bhaja Govinda. We should take that only. But unfortunately, the followers of Adi Shankaracharya, they are propagating wrong philosophy, the Advaita philosophy. Okay, so now this shloka 4.26. श्रोत्राणीनिन्द्रियाण्यन्ये संयमाग्निषु जुह्वति
संयमाग्निषु जुह्वति
शब्दादीन् विषयानन्या इन्द्रियाग्निषु जुह्वति
शब्दादीन् विषयान्यन्या इन्द्रियाग्निषु जुह्वति
श्रोत्रादीनि, such as the hearing process, indriyani, senses. Shotradini indriyani means different senses like hearing, smelling, touching, etc. Anye, others, samyama, of restraint, agnishu, in the fires, juhvati, offer, shabdadin, sound, vibration, etc. Vishayan, objects of sense gratification, anye, others, indriya, of sense organs, agnishu, in the fires, juhvati, they sacrifice. Okay, Sri Vidya, can you read the translation and purport?
Sure. Translation. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. Purport. The members of the 4 divisions of human life, namely the brahmachari, the grihastha, the vanaprastha, and the sannyasi, are all meant to become perfect yogis or transcendentalists. Since human life is not meant for our enjoying sense gratification like the animals, the 4 orders of human life are so arranged that one may become perfect in spiritual life. The brahmacharis or students under the care of a bona fide spiritual master, control the mind by abstaining from sense gratification. A brahmachari hears only words concerning Krishna consciousness. Hearing is the basic principle for understanding, and therefore the pure brahmachari engages fully in Harer Namanu Kirtanam, chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord. He restrains himself from the vibrations of material sounds, and his hearing is engaged in the transcendental sound vibration of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Similarly, the householders who have some license for the sense gratification perform such acts with great restraint. Sex life, intoxication, and meat eating, and general tendencies of human society. But a regulated householder does not indulge in unrestricted sex life and other sense gratification. Marriage on the principles of religious life is therefore current in all civilized human society because that is the way for restricted sex life. This restricted, unattached sex life is also a kind of yajna because the restricted householder sacrifices his general tendency towards sense gratification for higher transcendental life. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So here Krishna is talking about two other types of sacrifices. श्रोत्रादीन इंद्रियाण्यन्ये संयमाग्निषु जुह्वति शब्दादीन विषयान्यन्य इंद्रियाग्निषु जुह्वति. So brahmacharis and then grihasthas. So two types of people here. So brahmacharis, people who follow a celibate life, they are not engaged in worldly affairs. Okay, like performing some occupational duty, doing some business or doing some job like a Shudra. They are not engaged in performing activities like this. So they don't interact with material people so much. They are always, in an ashrama, brahmachari ashrama. That's why all the time they keep hearing only about God. They keep hearing only Krishna Katha. Vani gunanu katane uttama shloka vartaya. So Bhagavatam says, Vani gunanu kataye uttama shloka vartaya. Varta means news. Uttama shloka means that is one of the names of Krishna or Vishnu. Uttama shloka varta means news about Krishna or Vishnu or Krishna Katha. In simple words, Krishna Katha. Vani gunanu kataye uttama shloka vartaya. So the devotees are only interested in hearing about Krishna. So the brahmachari here that is described, they are interested only in hearing about Krishna. Shotradhin indriyananye samyamagnishu juhvati. So the topic that is being discussed here is sense control. How one sacrifices their senses. Because it's a topic, it's a section of sacrifices, right? Different types of sacrifices are mentioned. The one before this, sacrifices performed to demigods and sacrifices by Mayavadis, where they sacrifice themselves, their identity, into Supreme Brahman. And now here, sacrifice of senses. The senses are given to human beings or any living entity. Senses are given to any living entity for enjoyment. Especially in the lower species of life, in the animalistic life, senses are meant only for sense gratification. the sense of touch, sense of hearing, sense of smelling, sense of speaking, speaking or tasting, all these things are only for enjoyment. Because in the animalistic life, that's all they do. They are only focused on eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. These are the 4 things: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Ahara nidya, ahara nidra, bhaya maidhunam cha. Ahara nidra, bhaya maidhunam cha. Ahara is eating, nidra sleeping, bhaya defending, fear and defending, maidhunam mating. So if the humans are also performing the same thing, there is no difference between animal and human beings. That's why human beings are given this special prerogative of intelligence. We can discriminate between good and bad, right and wrong. We can read Shastra and know what is right and wrong, what is to be done, what is not to be done. So with that intelligence, human beings can learn to control the senses, sacrifice the senses. And brahmacharis and grihasthas, they sacrifice their senses in different ways. Brahmacharis, they maintain a complete celibate life. They don't get married. They don't indulge in any marital activities. It's a complete celibacy. It requires great willpower, great austerity. Whereas grihasthas, they also practice some sense control, but with some restrictions. I mean, they enjoy their senses, but with some restrictions. They engage in sense gratification in a restrained way. It's not an uncontrolled fashion. So they are given license to engage in sense gratification in a limited way, in a restrained way. So this is also one type of sense control. But all these things, artificially trying to control the senses, they are not long lasting. You cannot do this for a long time. You cannot do this for a long time. That's why people who practice yoga and meditation, what's the purpose of yoga and meditation? Sense control, mind control and sense control. Why do they want to do that? Why do they want to achieve sense control? So that they become peaceful. They don't get agitated by the urges of senses. And the moment they engage in sense gratification, they are subject to problems. So they are not interested in that. They want to become peaceful. But when we are dealing with people in the material world, and when we are subject to so many things in the material world, it's not possible to keep our mind disciplined. It's not possible to control our senses, especially in countries like Western countries like America. It's very difficult. That's why Bhakti Yoga is the topmost yoga, where there is no artificial controlling of senses. There is no artificial restraining of senses. In Bhakti Yoga, we engage all our senses in the service. Now, today is Radhashtami festival. Different devotees, they perform different services. Somebody performs some cooking services in the temple, cleaning services. Somebody makes garlands. Somebody makes a beautiful flower dress to Radharani and Kṛṣṇa. somebody sings kirtans, somebody gives a class, different things, different services that are performed in Bhakti Yoga. This is the way to make everything spiritual. Going back to the 4.24, brahmārpaṇaṁ, brahma havir, how we can spiritualize everything, how we can make everything transcendental is possible only in Bhakti Yoga. But Kṛṣṇa is giving the contrast, is presenting the contrast of different processes to which people are generally attracted in the world and why they do not give long-lasting benefits, permanent benefits. Okay, sometimes when we read these shlokas, it appears as if Kṛṣṇa is recommending this, right? Daivameva pare yajñam yogina paryupasate. Some yogis, they offer different sacrifices to demigods, they worship them nicely, perfectly. When we hear this shloka, it looks like an instruction to us. Oh, Kṛṣṇa is recommending to perform some devata worship. No, Kṛṣṇa is not recommending that. Kṛṣṇa is just giving a contrast. What is the highest thing and what is the lowest thing? Now we have to use our intelligence and decide what do we want to do. So a first-class intelligent person always looks for the best. He aims for the best. Okay, that's in 4.26. We'll discuss the next shloka. (4.27) Sarvanindriya karmani prana karmani chapare.
Sarvanindriya karmani prana karmani chapare.
Atma samyamya yogagnau juhvati jnana dipite.
Atma samyama yoganau juhvati jnana dipite.
Sarvani, of all, indriya, the senses, karmani, functions, prana karmani, functions of life breath, cha, also, apare, others, atma samyamya, of controlling the mind, yoga, the linking process, agnau, in the fire of, juhvati, offer, jnana dipite, because of the urge for self-realization. Okay, translation and purport. Praveen or Annapurna, you're still there?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Can you read this translation and purport?
Translation. Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath, also oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. Purport. The yoga system conceived by Patanjali is referred to herein. In the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, the soul is called Pratyagatma and Paragatma. As long as the soul is attached to sense enjoyment, it is called Paragatma. But as soon as the same soul becomes detached from the sense enjoyment, it is called Pratyagatma. The soul is subjected to the function of the 10 kinds of air at 10 kinds of air at work within the body, and this is perceived through the breathing system. The Patanjali system of yoga instruct one how to control the functions of the body's air in the technical manner, so that ultimately all the functions of the air within become favorable for purifying the soul of material attachment. According to this yoga system, Pratyag Atma is the ultimate goal. The pratyagatma is withdrawn from activities in matter. The sense interaction with the sense of objects, like the ear of hearing, eye of seeing, nose of smelling, tongue for tasting, and hand for touching, and all of them are thus engaged in activities outside the self. They are called the functions of the pranavayu. The apanavayu goes downwards. Vyanavayu acts to shrink and expand. Samanavayu adjusts equilibrium. Adanavayu goes upwards. And when one is enlightened, one engages all this in searching for self-realization.
Okay. One second. So here, Krishna is talking about the sacrifices performed by Ashtanga yogis. So prior to this, Krishna talked about the jnanis, karmis. Jnanis means the Mayavadis, impersonalists, who speculate on the knowledge of God and they try to merge with God. They sacrifice their own identity. And karmis, they perform different sacrifices to devatas. And Krishna also talked about sacrifices of senses by brahmacharis and grihasthas. Now Krishna is talking about the yogis, Ashtanga yogis or Hatha yogis. So in Ashtanga yoga, there are eight different processes: yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So when a yogi progresses through these eight processes and achieves perfection, they can get liberation. They can get liberation. They can get realization of Paramatma, feature of God. There are three features of God realization: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So Brahman we already discussed, becoming one with God, and Paramatma is that super soul feature, in our heart. And Bhagavan is that two-handed Shamasundara form of Krishna or Ramachandra, Vishnu. It can be four-handed Chaturbhuja form of Vishnu, Narayana. That is Bhagavan. So the yogis, what do? In order to control their senses, they control the life air. They control the functions of life air. There are 10 different types of airs. In our body, there are 10 different types of air. So you might have seen the pujaris when they are performing pujas, they recite these mantras, right? Om apanaya swaha, Om udanaya swaha, Om vyanaya swaha, Om samanaya swaha, and so on. That means they are invoking these different life airs to purify them, to sanctify them. So these are the different types of airs or vayu. Air or vayu means the vital force. Vital force which is needed for the survival or subsistence of the living entity. So what are the 10 different types of airs? Prana, apana, udana, vyana, samana. These are the 5 main primary types of vayu. And then there are secondary airs. So secondary types of airs. There are naga, kurma, krikara, dhananjaya, and devadatta. Dhananjaya and devadatta. So in simple words, let's try to understand the 5 main types of the primary types of air: prana, apana, udana, vyana, and samana. Prana is that life, that air that goes upwards, and apana is that word, that air that goes downward. And udana is that air that that is helpful in that is primarily residing in the throat area, which is helpful for swallowing the food that we are eating.
Ramji, Udana only goes upwards. I read somewhere.
Huh?
Udana goes up. And
Udana goes upwards.
I heard somewhere, Prabhuji. Not sure.
Okay. No, prana, udana is mostly in the throat area. It's in the throat area because any function that we do in the body, it requires air. To open, for example, to open our eyes, there is certain type of air that is needed. To move our hands, there is certain type of air needed. So every function requires these airs. So prana is the air that goes upwards.
It is written prana is inward and downward, Prabhuji. Inward and downward. Udana is upward. Samana is assimilation, digestive functions. Vyana is circulation. And apana is downward. Downward and outward.
Yeah, apana is downward, but udana is also downward, you are saying?
Udana is upward. U for up. That's why I remember. Like Udana is upward.
Okay.
Upward, but throat region is right.
Yeah. Correct. Chest and throat region.
Chest and throat region. Yeah. So prana is then basically I mean, I think except apana, all other airs they are upward. Only apana is that air that goes downward, which is helpful in performing evacuating, passing urine and stool, all these activities.
Even for a baby, like the gravity has to work, right, Prabhuji? Baby, that also apana.
Yeah. So anything downward, that is apana. All other types of airs like prana, vyana, samana, these are all udana, these are all upward only. Except apana, all other 4 are upward. So the yogis who are practicing Ashtanga yoga, what do is they try to merge prana with apana. they try to merge prana with apana. In the process of breathing, there are three processes: Puraka, Rechaka, and Kumbhaka. Puraka is that process. Puraka means complete, right? So that process which completes inhalation. And Rechaka is that process that does exhalation. When you inhale air, that's Puraka. When you exhale, it's Rechaka. And Kumbhaka is that process where this Puraka and Rechaka is stopped. The inhale and exhale is stopped. So basically the breathing is stopped. So Ashtanga yogis in the advanced stages, they even stop breathing. Why do they stop breathing? So that they can live longer. They can increase their lifespan. Why do they want to increase lifespan? To achieve perfection in yoga. Because this process of Ashtanga yoga, it's very difficult. So they know that the yogis who are practicing this, they know that they need longer time to achieve perfection, especially in Kali Yuga. That's why they want to increase their lifespan. So they stop breathing in order to increase the lifespan, because the lifespan is based on the number of breaths that we take. Lifespan or Ayushu means how many number of breaths that are allotted to us by God. When we are born, we are allotted with certain number of breaths. That is our Ayushu, lifespan. It's not the number of years. So that's why the yogis, they increase their lifespan by stopping breath. By controlling the number of breaths they take, they increase the lifespan so that they can achieve perfection in this lifetime only. They don't have to take another lifetime to achieve perfection. So,
but you mentioned that after they reach that goal, again they have to come back, right, Prabhuji? Because that is not the correct goal, whatever they are doing.
If they don't achieve perfection, now in Ashtanga Yoga, if they achieve perfection, if they get the Paramatma realization, they can go to spiritual world. Paramatma realization is the super soul feature of God. It can be of Narayana. Generally, when you see Paramatma super soul picture, right, in Bhagavad Gita book, or if you go to Google search and search for Paramatma, it's usually a Chaturbhuja Narayana form, four-handed Narayana form, holding Shankha, Chakra, Gada and Padma. So, achieving realization of Paramatma, that is a permanent benefit.
They don't have to come back and do bhakti and all. But
they don't have to. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Only the impersonalists, Mayavadis, who achieve Brahman realization, they have to come back. But people who achieve, the yogis who achieve Paramatma realization, it's a permanent benefit. They live in the spiritual world.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
These both somehow it gets confusing for me, Prabhuji. Mayavadis and this, and they are also not enjoying anything. They are controlling themselves. Mayavadis also do this, right, Prabhuji? So, can you explain the difference?
Difference between Mayavadis and these Ashtanga yogis?
Yes.
Yeah. So Mayavadis, their process is just like how for the Ashtanga yogas, the main process is yoga. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, the yogic sadhana, basically. Whereas for Mayavadis, the main process is speculation. Cultivating knowledge through speculation. They start with something. They mostly read Upanishads. They read Upanishads, they start with something, and then they try to speculate. They sit down with a group of people, Swadhyaya, self-study. They do some self-study and then they sit down with some group of people and then they try to speculate. This is what I read in Upanishad, but maybe this is like this. I think this is like this. I think this is like that. Maybe God is like this. Maybe God is like that. They try to speculate. So they participate in a debate, group discussion, debate, and different people come up with different ideas. It all becomes a khichdi. Hmm?
Yeah, nowadays atheists do like this, right, Prabhuji? Atheists, they do like this.
Atheists also have group discussions like this, but their whole point is to prove that God does not exist at all. Mayavadis, they believe in God, but they believe that God has no form, no qualities. Nirakar and Nirguna.
And they also don't enjoy any material things in this world also. They deny all the many material
Yeah,
enjoyment.
they say Brahma Satyam Jagat Mityam. This material world is false. So they try to avoid as much as possible. They try to follow Nivritti Marga. But it's not possible, right? When you are living in the material
Yes.
world, it's not possible to artificially renounce things.
Yeah, but yogis also do that, right, Prabhuji? They also renounce.
They renounce. Yeah. For yogis, it is actually a prerequisite. Celibacy is one of the prerequisites for yogis. Before they can start practicing yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, and so on, before they can practice the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, the prerequisite is celibacy.
Prabhu, like, yeah, if you practice this yogis, right, like there is no ananda, they will fall back, right? That's what we keep saying, right?
Yeah.
So, but we still say that once the yogi, the first example you gave, who sees Narayana 400 form, they don't come back, right? Those yogis also don't do any action. There is no ananda, right, for them also?
No, for the Brahman people, people who achieve Brahman realization, they don't see the 400 form Narayana.
Okay,
Don't
okay.
merge in the Brahma Jyoti.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no activity there. Whereas yogis who achieve Paramatma realization, they get darshan of the 400 Narayana form, Paramatma form, and then they go to spiritual world and perform some service. They are,
Okay.
the end
Mm-hmm.
result of yogis is like that of bhakti yogis. But the only difference between yogis and bhakta yogas is, for Ashtanga yogis, the process is very difficult. Whereas for people who are practicing bhakti yoga, the process is very easy.
Okay, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prabhuji. Only two seems to be easy, Prabhuji. Being materialistic or bhakti. The in between all are tough. Renouncing.
Being materialistic is also not easy. Being materialistic
Yeah.
is also not easy because it's a it's a place of misery,
Yeah.
place of
Correct.
suffering. So unless you cultivate spiritual knowledge, you cannot stay peaceful in the material world.
That is true.
You may be able to stay peaceful for some time, if you are given a good birth, if you are born in a rich family, for some time you'll remain peaceful. But eventually, as a person gets old, gets diseases, then they cannot remain peaceful. Whereas devotees who are practicing bhakti yoga, it doesn't matter whether they are rich, poor, whether they have diseases, they are dying, it doesn't matter. Because the spiritual strength given by Shastra, spiritual strength given by this bhakti sadhana will make them peaceful.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So So basically in this verse 4.27, right? Yeah, 4.27, Kṛṣṇa is talking about how yogis control senses by manipulating the functions of the air. The natural function of air is prana has to go up, apana has to go down. And both inhale and exhale has to be there. This is normal. But the yogis, they manipulate. They try to merge apana with prana, and then they stop inhale and exhale to increase the lifespan. All this is to control the senses. Because when there are, now it's important to understand, right? Why when the functions of air are controlled, the senses will be controlled. So it is important to understand this point. If we control the intake of food, then the different airs in the body will become weak. When the different airs in the body become weak, then the senses will become weak. And we will not engage in sense gratification. That's why this concept of fasting, especially on Ekadashi day or some festivals day like Janmashtami and today Radhashtami day, on Radhashtami day we fast until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Janmashtami day we fast until 12 o'clock in the midnight. So when we restrain from food, that weakens the different airs in the body. When the different airs are weakened, that will weaken the senses. And when the senses are weakened, we will not engage in sense gratification. So this is what the yogis do. We do only on Ekadashi day or some festival day, but yogis do this every day. Actually, in the next shloka, Kṛṣṇa describes how the yogis I think in 4.29. 4.29, Kṛṣṇa talks about niyatahara. Apane juhvati pranam prane panam tada pare pranapana gati rudva pranayama parayanaha apare niyatahara pranan praneshu juhvati. Niyatahara. Ahara means food. Niyatahara means restraining food. So yogis, first they stop eating food, then they stop drinking water, then they stop breathing also. All of this is to control the senses.
Like Dhruv Maharaj, when he did the tapasya, they'll be mentioning, right, Prabhuji, first week he ate apple, then...
Yeah, Dhruv Maharaj and then even Hiranyakashipu also. So, yeah. So basically they are sacrificing their senses. The one point that we need to understand is, yogis, by performing these different things, controlling food, controlling air, controlling water, everything, what are they doing? Sacrificing the sense gratification. Sacrificing the sense gratification. Whereas for bhakti yogis, the process is very simple. 4.24, you simply recite that mantra. brahmārpaṇaṁ brahma havir brahmagnau brahmaṇā hutam brahmaiva tena gantavyaṁ brahma-karma-samādhinā. You simply recite that mantra and everything becomes spiritual. So this is the contrast Kṛṣṇa is giving. Some sacrifices, like sacrifices to devatas, they achieve temporary benefits. Some sacrifices, like what is done by the yogis, Ashtanga yogis, they achieve permanent benefits, but the process is very difficult. So Kṛṣṇa is giving what is that process, what is that sacrifice that gives us permanent benefit, and which is that process that is the best and easiest. So that is 4.24, brahmārpaṇaṁ, havir. All other things are different details and different types of sacrifices. We should not be worried too much about this. And there is one more, this 4.28 in between. 4.28 is dravya yajñastapo yajña yoga yajñastada pare swadhyaya jnana yajñascha yataya samshita vrataha. Dravya yajña. Dravya means wealth, money. So tapo yajña, different austerities, different vratas. Yoga yajna, that is Ashtanga yoga. Swadhyaya yajna. Basically, in this verse, Kṛṣṇa is summarizing everything, all different types of sacrifices done by karmis, jnanis, Ashtanga yogis, like that. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. So we don't have to read the purport. Other than the study that we do in the class, it is recommended to do some homework also, do some self-study, swadhyaya at home also. So 4.29 is that niyataharaha, how yogis control food. So we'll discuss one last verse and then we'll stop. 4.30 in this the concluding section in this shloka, in this section. So 4.30 Sarvepyete yajñavido.
Prabhuji, we didn't read the other sloka, right? 4.28, 29.
Yeah, 28, 29, I just summarized them. I just summarized them. 27 we discussed, but 28, 29 I just summarized. 28, 29 they are in one shloka.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they are in different shloka, but same thing about yogis, Ashtanga yogis. How Ashtanga yogis control their different airs. So there are so many details about different airs. Yeah, we don't need to know all those things.
Got it. Thank you.
We can read the purport in our leisure time. Okay. 4.30 Sarvepyete yajñavido yajñakshapita kalmashaha.
सर्वेऽपि यज्ञविदो यज्ञक्षपितकल्मषा
यज्ञशिष्टामृतभुजो यान्ति ब्रह्म सनातनम्.
यज्ञशिष्टामृतभुजो यान्ति ब्रह्म सनातनम्.
Okay. Sudhakar, you want to read this translation purport?
Okay, Prabhu. All these performers who know Prabhu is too small to read, Prabhu. My specs.
Okay. Yeah, I can read.
I can read probably, that's all.
Kṛṣṇa, yeah, go ahead.
All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar, the results of sacrifices, they advance toward the supreme external atmosphere. Purport. From the foregoing explanation of different types of sacrifice, namely sacrifice of one's possessions, study of Vedas or philosophical doctrines, and performance of the yoga system, it is found that the common aim of all is to control the senses. Sense gratification is the root cause of material existence. Therefore, unless and until one is situated on a platform apart from sense gratification, there is no chance of being elevated to the eternal platform of full knowledge, full bliss, and full life. This platform is an eternal atmosphere as Brahman atmosphere. All the above mentioned sacrifices help one to become cleansed of the sinful reactions of material existence. By this advancement in life, not only does one become happy and opulent in this life, but also at the end, he enters into the eternal kingdom of God, either merging into the impersonal Brahman or associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa.
Okay. So here, Kṛṣṇa is summarizing that the performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of result of sacrifices, they advance toward the supreme eternal atmosphere. So depending on what we are attracted to, depending on what type of sacrifices we perform, eventually everybody will reach the supreme destination, but some take longer, some take quicker to achieve that result. People who practice bhakti yoga, they achieve results quickly, and people who practice other yogas like jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, they take longer time. But the purpose of all these different processes or sacrifices is to purify our consciousness and become transcendental, become spiritual. That's how Kṛṣṇa started this section 4.24. brahmārpaṇaṁ brahma havir, brahmagnau brahmaṇā hutam, brahmaiva tena gantavyaṁ, brahma-karma-samādhinā. How everything becomes spiritual, how everything becomes transcendental. The person who is performing the sacrifice, the act of sacrifice itself, the ingredients that are used in the sacrifice, everything, and the result of the sacrifice, everything becomes spiritual or transcendental. So it's the same material activity, but with that mantra shakti, we are converting this material activity into spiritual activity. This sound vibration is the only important thing. In Bhakti Yoga, sound vibration is the essential element. In the temple, the deity, how does the deity get energy? When you stand in front of the deity, you see some effulgence, some power, you can feel some power and vibration, some energy. How is the deity getting that energy? There are two reasons, right? One is Kṛṣṇa himself is coming and sitting in the deity as Archa Vigraha, in the Archa Vigraha form. That is one. Another thing is, as the pujaris, they recite mantras every day. And as the devotees chant, kirtans every day, this mantra shakti gets transferred as energy into the deity. That's why when you are standing in front of the deity or when you are circumambulating, you feel some energy, some positive vibrations. So everything is in mantra shakti, in the shabda.
Prabhuji, feeling is more important. That's what you mentioned, right, Prabhuji?
Mm-hmm.
More than like recitation, also the feeling only is important.
Yeah.
Bhava, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you will recite something only when you, mechanically you will recite. Initially you will start reciting mechanically, but the same sound vibration will give you the energy to develop feelings and emotions.
But for example, some people in olden days or who don't have access to the mantras, they also had the feeling and they have reached God, right, Prabhuji? So,
Yeah, simply by hearing, they develop those feelings and emotions. If one is not able to recite, at least they can recite, they can hear, right? So simply by hearing, either you are hearing or reciting, everything is involving around sound vibration.
not only mantra, also kathas also.
Katha, kirtan, everything. Yeah. So the energy in all these things is called mantra shakti. The shakti coming from stotrams, the shakti coming from mantras, the shakti coming from reading Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, the shakti by singing kirtans and bhajans. It's all mantra shakti. What is mantra? Mana trayate iti mantraha. That which delivers the mind is mantra. Srimad Bhagavatam, it delivers the mind. Bhagavad Gita, it delivers the mind. Kirtan, it delivers the mind. The mantra, the so-called mantras recited by pujaris, they deliver the mind. Stotrams deliver the minds. So in all these things, there is one common element, that is mantra shakti. So when that mantra shakti is transferred into the deity, that's how the deity gives the positive energy through the sound vibration. Shabda Brahma. Because when we are hearing or chanting, the Shabda is not different from Kṛṣṇa himself. It is the Shabda Brahma Rupam of Kṛṣṇa. Just like how deity is the Archa Vigraha Rupam, similarly, the sound incarnation is called Shabda Brahma. So everything is through sound. That's why that 4.24 is a very powerful shloka, which gives the importance of mantra shakti. And all other things that we discussed in the next shlokas until 4.29, those are all different processes which are very difficult to practice. But simply you can make any activity into spiritual activity with mantra shakti. So that's the takeaway from today's discussion. So before we wrap up, any questions, comments, reflections, anybody?
What are the best sacrifices we can do for Kṛṣṇa, Prabhuji?
The best sacrifice is japa. Kṛṣṇa tells in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, Yajñānam japa yajñosmi. Yajña means sacrifice. Yajñānam means of all the yajñas. Japa yajñosmi. I am the chanting of the holy name. So let me show the shloka.
Namakirti is asking that.
Namakirti is asking about Nama Sankirtana. Yes. Yeah. So here, this is 10.25, Bhagavad Gita 10.25. Opulences of the Absolute, Vibhuti Yoga. Maharshīnām brigurahām girām asmyekam aksharam yajñānām japa yajñosmi stāvarāణām himalayah. So you just focus on this line. Yajñānām japa yajñosmi. Yajñānām of sacrifices. Japa yajna, chanting. Japa means chanting. This particular yajna called japa yajna, called chanting of the holy name. Asmi, I am. Krishna is saying, I am the, of all the sacrifices, I am the chanting of holy name, japa. So when you are doing japa, what are you sacrificing? You are sacrificing your time.
Time.
Yeah, you are sacrificing your energy. So this is the best sacrifice.
And we have to sacrifice our like ego, me. Like we have to sacrifice that, and we have to do it for God, right, Prabhuji?
What's that?
We have to sacrifice our ego, like it not for me. Like we have to sacrifice our ego.
Yeah.
It's everything for God.
Yes, yes. But sacrificing our ego is not so easy. That's why we need to chant the holy name. When we chant the holy name, it cleanses our anarthas in the heart, and then we'll come to a stage where we can sacrifice our ego. That's the biggest thing actually. Sacrificing our ego, surrendering to somebody, that's the biggest difficult thing.
Because that is why we came to this bhumi. That's what you told once, like we have to redo the process, like reverse the process so that we go back.
Yes. And that process is Nama Sankirtana, chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, chanting of different stotrams like Vishnu Sahasranama Stotra, different kirtans. Then all the anarthas in the heart will be cleansed and we can surrender to God. That's why Krishna says chanting japa is the best sacrifice. And it's the easiest. It's the best and easiest. Everybody can do in every walk of life. Okay?
Okay, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you.
So it's 1:23 now. I think we can stop here. Thank you everyone for joining. Grantara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We'll see you all next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.